wasn't in communications or marketing or anything like that. How do I end up having your job?
That's a really funny question. I have no idea. I don't even know how I got my job. I got my job because I became friends with that guy. That's how I got my job. I have no desire whatsoever to be a sports broadcaster. It was completely accidental. So I don't know. Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Hey, Joe. Pretty good, man. My name is Asa. I'm from Calgary.
What's up? Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you too.
Canadians are so goddamn friendly. Hello, my name is Asa from Calgary. I met a guy in the hallway. He's like, I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Yeah, like it matters.
What? Why don't you tell me your fucking address where you're at?
I follow your podcast religiously, and I just want to know personally, who do you have for tomorrow? Silva or Weidman? And can I start a picture with you?
I never ever give predictions because you never really know. I mean, if I was an odds maker, I'd put the money on Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
I would give him a distinct advantage. That doesn't mean that Chris Weidman can't win. Because Chris Weidman is a fucking beast of a wrestler. That's legit. And Anderson, the only two times we've ever seen him in difficulty were the first fight with Chael Sonnen, which of course he did have a rib injury, that is true, and then the first fight, his fight with Travis Lutter. Those are the only two times we've ever seen Anderson in trouble. And those were both serious grapplers. Elliot, ladies and gentlemen, how about a big round of applause for Elliot? Those are the two really tough fights or tough moments that he's had inside the octagon. And Chris Weidman's a better wrestler, in my opinion, than both of those guys. When it comes to MMA, he's a tough kid. That said, he's only 9 fights deep in his MMA career, and you know, it's a big jump between fighting the guys that he's been fighting and fighting Anderson Silva. It doesn't mean he can't win, but it means if you're a betting man, the odds are correct. But he can win.
Sure. Can I get a picture of it?
Eventually, but not right now. Let's just do this first.
If you could fight anyone in the UFC, who would it be?
I wouldn't fight anyone in the UFC.
But if you could, say you were in...
I wouldn't.
Come on, there's be
If
someone
I could,
you would fight.
if I want to get my ass kicked, I probably could set it up. But I don't want to do that. Why would I do that?
Well, if you're in the...
If you could fight anyone in the UFC, who would you fight? Would you fight Ronda?
If I could, yeah.
That shit would turn out terrible.
Oh,
Don't
I
do
know.
it. I'm gonna tell you, don't do it.
But if I could, I would.
There's a lot of people in this life that have terrible ideas, and it's up to people like me to tell them. These ideas are awful. So this idea that you're bringing to me, that's awful as well. I don't want to fight anybody in the UFC. I'm telling you not to do it, and I'm telling myself not to do it either. So that's my answer to your question.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you. It's like if you would fuck a shark. What kind of shark would it be? Fuck a shark? Yeah.
With all the super fight talk, John Jones versus Anderson, Anderson versus GSP, how would you see one of those fights like playing out?
You know, that's a very good question. I think John Jones is too big for any of them. I think Anderson is too big for George St. Pierre, unfortunately. It's really hard when you're dealing with the weight classes in the UFC because the gap between 185 and 205 is 20 pounds. That is an enormous gap when you're talking about a guy like John Jones who cuts weight to make that 205-pound gap. He's a huge guy. Anderson Silva can fight at 205, and I like that fight better. I like Anderson Silva, of course, that's assuming he gets past Chris Weidman. But I like him versus John Jones more than I like GSP versus Anderson. I think Anderson is much bigger than GSP. But if GSP built up the weight over a long period of time, it would be interesting to watch. I would love to see any of those fights, obviously. But I think if I looked at it on paper, the one that I think is most competitive is probably Anderson and John Jones.
Awesome.
Thank you, brother. Hi.
Hi.
What's so funny? Someone's got the giggles.
I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
But how do you see Anderson and Weidman play? How do you see that fight going?
Oh, I think there's a million potential scenarios. I really have no idea how it's going to play out. I'm excited to see it, but who knows? The real question in that fight is, can Weidman take Anderson down? If he can't, then it's going to get ugly. If he can, then maybe it gets ugly for him. Who knows? It's a really, we don't know what what's going to happen when two fighters get into the octagon until they lock up. We're surprised all the time. There's a lot of people that get counted out that wind up winning. There's a lot of people that, you know, you think it's going to be a competitive fight and it turns out to not be. So it's really difficult to make predictions. That's why I never do. But I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. And one of the things that I'm most excited about is the confidence that Weidman has. He has some real, legitimate, pure confidence, and just an incredible champion's belief in himself. Is that going to be enough? I don't know. Anderson has that confidence too. But it's going to be fun.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So are you a non-alien believer?
No, I'm not a non-alien believer. I just don't believe people who say they've seen aliens. I believe definitely that there could be aliens, but I also believe that people are full of shit. And they are, you know? You gotta factor that in. Everybody wants to go, well, he wrote a story in the story. I'll make up some shit right now. We can all make things up, and a lot of times people want attention. And there's a lot of times you have a dream that seems real. We don't know that much about human neurochemistry in regards to sleep, but one of the things that we do know is that when you're sleeping, your brain is producing like complex neurochemicals, and some of them are hallucinogenic. And there's a lot of these people that get abducted by aliens. Coincidentally, it happens while they're sleeping. Ooh. I mean, you connect the dots, they're probably having a fucking dream. You know? Nice to meet you. This is the weirdest Q&A ever. You people are freaks. Sorry.
Hey Joe, what's going on?
How are you, sir? That's a confident mustache.
Hey, what weight would make the most sense if John Jones and Anderson Silva fought at like
it would have to be 205, I think. I don't think John Jones wants to go below 205. He's a big kid, you know, and he's getting bigger. He's still thickening out. He's a young man. I wouldn't like to see him cut any more weight. If Anderson wants to fight him, I think they would have to fight at 205. That's my opinion.
Can you see that fight happening anytime soon?
You know, Anderson has to get past Chris Weidman, and I believe that's a big question mark. And we're going to find out what happens tomorrow night. But I think Weidman is going to present some unique challenges. Whether or not he's going to be able to pull it off, who knows? But if he doesn't pull it off and Anderson wins, especially if Anderson wins in dominant fashion, I think that's a really logical fight.